Hello everyone and welcome to the Silicon Nubian YouTube channel where we're all about things tech. Continuing with our series 10 Minutes with Linux, today we're going to take a look at Linux Lite 4.8, the latest release of a very well-respected Linux distribution based on Ubuntu 18.04. Interesting thing about this distribution before we jump in and kick the tires a bit is the developers are really trying to pull in a certain segment of the market. I will read and I quote. This is from their release information. We would like to take this opportunity to welcome all Windows 7 people who have come here to find a simple, fast, and free alternative to Windows 7, which has reached its end of life. So this is what they're trying to pull in here. People are coming, I should say Windows 7 refugees, looking for something other than a Windows experience. So here we have, upon boot up, we have the Welcome to Linux Lite, which is an excellent start. You can easily get into certain mundane tasks such as installing your updates, installing drivers. You can set a restore point, install language support, and there's all kind of different wikis and facts and whatnot that are available right after boot up. Now, as per usual, with my quick looks at any kind of Linux distributions, I have performed a full update after installing. It is running in a virtual machine. Performance has been stellar, but then again on the system, with the system specs, I would expect that, and it's running quite well. So let's take a look quickly at what you get. One of the things we try to point out here on this channel is how productive can you be right out of the bat post-installation. So let's take a look at what Linux Lite has to offer. XFCE, of course, is in full bloom. This is the default screen. It can easily be changed if you go to desktop settings. And nice. Once again, everything's in real time, which I love. Can't get enough of that. Oh, I love Cityscape, so we're going to keep that one. All the same settings we've seen in a few different distributions. It works well, it works fast, that's all you need to know. And it's quite simple for anyone to get into. Right click on the desktop, we can do the usual things, create a launcher, create a document. We can open the terminal here. We do have the task manager, and if we open it up, post boot up, we are using under 500 megs of RAM, which is quite low by today's standards of an operating system. So obviously Linux Lite does live up to its name in that it's definitely not resource hungry at all, at least post boot up, and it looks really good in terms of RAM usage, and it's really not going up anywhere. There are some distributions, depending on what's running, memory starts to eat up slowly and slowly. I don't know if that's due to memory leaks or just poorly designed software, but it is what it is. With Linux Lite, things seem to be really stable, hovering around that 500 megabyte mark. So very good. So what do we have? Again, we can take a screenshot from here. We can open as administrator. We can search. We can arrange the icons. And of course, we went to the desktop settings. And as in other Linux distributions, we do have the application launcher available from a left click at the bottom where we can go into all the applications. Let's look at the screen. It's except for the the change in wallpaper, it's pretty much ready for you to organize the way you want. We have the user files, of course, which will open the file manager. In this case, the file manager is Thunar 1.6.15, not as recent as we've seen in other distributions, but again, stability over cutting edge sometimes is the way to go. And we have a control panel, we'll get into that, the user manual, we have our network, so we can look into our network right away. It brings up again Thunar, but in the network with the network tab. We have this PC, which is much like my computer in the Windows world, which shows us, again, brings us back to the file manager. And of course, this is what's loaded in the virtual drive. So we'll just disregard that for now. Let's look at the bottom on the panel. Very simple. We can not really change not a whole lot of things with respect to the panel. And let's look, we have two virtual screens available to us. Here we have networking. So left click brings up this dialog and right clicking brings up the same dialog. So again, not necessarily over the top in terms of features like some other distributions, but then again, it's actually more than what you get from a vanilla Windows 7 install, I can tell you that much. And here we have the clock and the calendar, and pretty much simple fare. So let's move over again and look at what's here. We have our terminal, and we see that after update we're running kernel 4.15, which is fairly up to date. The 5.0 kernels are out, which boast enhanced hardware support, but for Linux Lite, I'd pretty much guess for 90% of people out there, the included kernel will not be a problem. File manager, again, the default browser is Firefox, nothing wrong with that. 64 bits, so fairly new, pretty good. We can reduce everything here, minimize all open windows, and then we have our menu. But before the menu, let's go into the control panel. The control panel is something that's really nice, really easy. Notice it's called control panel. Again, an ode to those coming from the Windows world. So we can pretty much modify and set up and tweak different parts of the system through this control panel. We could see the parents, of course, preferred apps. I'm not going to go through everything. We could tweak window manager behavior and whatnot, workspaces, display, choose the display resolution we want, and refresh rate, rotation or not, multiple display support. We have keyboard, mouse, power manager, of course, Lite login. We can enable auto login here. We can Lite desktop, so we can say which do you want to enable or disable on the desktop. So that's a nice little touch. Instead of dragging and dropping, well, I'm sure that works as well, or right-clicking and saying go here and there. We have Lite info. Hardware status does not accept submissions from a virtual machine. Okay, so that's just an information app. Lite network shares. So it seems that we have some, I would call them non-standard apps, or apps that the developer themselves has put in there and developed on their own, or there are forks of other existing applications. But that's a good touch. I like that. MX Linux is king of that, I'll tell you. You have Lite sounds, enable sounds, enable. So these are pretty good. I think this is excellent in terms of what their target audience is. Yes, Linux users in general, but people coming from the Windows world as well. And I think they can get right at home with this just after poking around for a few minutes. Sources, of course, we're a Lite system report, Lite tweaks. So we have boot fix, restore boot splash, and Linux Lite. So we have all these little things that we can do: manage save sessions, numlock, package cache, kernel installer, install specific kernels you wish to boot from. So that's really nice. That's starting to remind me a little bit of MX Linux in terms of these little tweaks that they put in there to make someone's life a lot easier, or just someone who likes to kick the tires a little bit deeper and really run around their systems. With live updates, notify. So we're notified of updates. You can say hourly, every 6 hours. Let's every 6 hours and set. It'll tell you if there's any updates or whatnot, and it'll appear down here. Lite sources, Lite tweaks, Lite upgrade. We're already running the latest release. Lite welcome, which we saw when we booted up. Pretty interesting stuff, and the updating is quite simple. So let's look quickly in our last 2 minutes that we have here, or less. The like menu, what's included? So we have install update. So we have an update install tool, which will go out and look for all the updates for us. Of course, I can tell you that this has been updated, so that's what it's going to say. Otherwise, it would pop up a box, and you'll be able to tell you what updates are available, what's going to be replaced or added or deleted, and whatnot. So pretty easy to deal with there. And my computer, just like Windows, it's an ode to the Windows users as well. With my computer, we have settings. We went through that already. Accessories, save archive manager, calculator, file search, home folders, take a screenshot, text editor. So LeafPad is a very simple but functional text editor in there. Graphics, we have GIMP, of course, image viewer, scanner, Internet, Firefox, network connection, support Thunderbird Mail, multimedia, Office. Looks like LibreOffice. Yes, it is. LibreOffice is included. It doesn't look like it's the full suite, though, but it is enough. System, install and remove software. And this is where we can, it looks very synaptic like. And as you can tell, our 10 minutes is up, so let's wrap this up. So this is a list of all the software that you can get. Not really a list, but in terms of a tool that you can use to both install and uninstall software. I could look at what's installed if I need to, for example, search for Chrome. Everything related with Chrome, including the browser. And I can just, it'll give me a blurb and that'll tell me what's going to install and what's not. So in this 10 minutes of Linux, I hope I've shown you that out of the box, Linux Lite is quite capable and something that should be looked at. It's known for its stability, is based on a very stable, not necessarily cutting edge, but stable version of Ubuntu, which is 18.04. It is not, again, cutting edge, but cutting edge sometimes breeds instability. Not necessarily so, but we have to always be mindful of that. So all that being said, I think this is definitely worth a look for those, in particular for those who want a daily driver. This looks like it'd be a great daily driver for someone who wants a stable, familiar desktop experience in Linux. Thanks again for watching. This has been 10 Minutes with Linux, our new series. It's not meant to be a comprehensive look at Linux in any way, shape, or form, but just a quick view of what you can expect post boot up with Linux distributions, because many times people want to get and become productive immediately. So that's what this whole series is about. Thanks again, and keep watching this channel for more like this. If you like this format, give me a thumbs up. Tell me what you like and don't like about it, and we'll try to tweak it to your taste. Thanks again, and see you later.